In continuing with our concept about how do we help our children develop spiritually, how do we help them to mature spiritually so that they can gain the greatest sense of well-being and happiness as they grow. We're going to be looking a little bit more at the details of what are we doing here on the whole planet? Are we really connected? What does that mean that we are all connected? What does it mean to be a member of this larger community? Does that mean we're insignificant, or does that mean we're invisible? Or does that mean that we have a responsibility to care for everybody and everything? What is the spiritual wisdom behind those ideas of the individual versus the collective? I think these concepts are really significant, and it's amazing how a parent's view intersperses throughout a child's entire experience, because when everything is feeling good, they might be happy and bubbly and playful. But when things are a little tense, or a parent is feeling stressed, or a child is struggling, the truth of what the parent believes comes out and it emerges. It helps for you to be aware of what your spiritual belief system is before these incredible moments occur, so you can be prepared to choose the context in what you're modeling to your children, to model what you feel is in alignment with your principles and your values. So what I see is that one of the most awakening sentences I had ever received from guides is that you are as important as everything in existence. And everything in existence is as important as you. The first time I heard that, I thought that sounded like it was filled with contrast, or there was this juxtaposition in there that just wasn't working. And over time, I started to realize that both halves of that thought, that they can happily exist in a partnership, and that they do co-create with one another to be the infinite wisdom of a life and of our eternal lives. So what that means is that if every person on this planet ignited into having a sense of self-love and valuing themselves, and every person ignited to having a feeling of care for one another and the planet, if that for some reason happened at the same second for everyone, all disharmony would disappear. All of it. Everything. Sickness, poverty, crime, the need for litigation or legislation, they would melt, because together we would all live harmoniously and joyfully and creatively, and individually we would all live harmoniously, abundantly, and creatively. There would be an innate sense that there is enough of everything for everyone. Enough love, enough food, enough clean water, enough health care, enough abundance, because there is enough, but there would be a sense of sharing instead of hoarding. When we don't love ourselves, oftentimes it models itself as separating from a sense of abundance. What I see oftentimes with clients and audiences is that they have been trained to believe that anything they want in life is like getting a slice of a pie. And if someone you know gets a bigger slice, then you can only have a smaller slice of that pie. So we're trained to believe everything is finite. We're trained to believe that we have to divide up smallness among people. And anytime somebody gets a little bit more goodness, or they get a promotion, or a little more money, or they have a baby when you wanted one, or they have what seems like a great romantic relationship when you wanted one, you tend to look at it with that mindset and think, well, that's less of an opportunity that I'm going to get that. But it's not true. It's finite and it's incorrect. What is true is that abundance and happiness feeds abundance and happiness, and they both grow. So when one person prospers, the other person next to them has an opportunity to prosper as well. And if we have the spiritual belief system that goodness and good qualities expand rather than are finite and sliced up into pieces, if we have that mindset while we are raising our children, then our children start to see that generosity of kindness or money or sharing or friendship or anything, that the generosity of being expands the goodness that they have in their own life. When they live within that context, then they see their own lives grow. So just as an example, one of the things that I was pretty good at when I was a kid, which helped me to manage some of the things that didn't go well as I was a child, was that academics came pretty easily to me. Now, one of the things I really liked doing was I loved like helping other kids, like for the weekly spelling test. You know, every Friday you sit down and in 10 minutes your teacher rattles off 10 words and you have to spell them correctly. Well, I was going to say 9 out of 10 times I got 100, but it was probably more like 10 out of 10 times I got 100. I didn't feel like I was going to get an 80 if I helped someone else get a 90. Do you see? I would still get 100 if I could help someone to learn a word and get them to move from a 70 to an 80. So my win in figuring out how to spell things, if I could help someone else with that win, then we all won, right? It's a mindset. I remember sometimes, especially I remember this in college, that once in a while in high school, that there were teachers or professors that started to feel like there had to be a scale. Too many people got A's this semester, so I have to broaden the range and make things almost impossible in some questions or essays or whatever, because this is not a true indication of the material and your ability to digest and absorb it. And I used to think that, why are we always equating that success means that we're making something too easy? Can it be that there was a body of material that we covered and we all did a winning job with it? Can't you just say, this is the body that I want to convey? And if you guys are able to show me a reflection back that you have attained that knowledge, then you can all walk away with A's. It's that idea, is that somebody doesn't have to lose for someone to win. We all can win when we have that attitude of growth feeds growth. It's really remarkable how oftentimes someone who's greedy and feels that the only way that they're going to be able to get what it is that they want is by taking it away from someone else, but then not sharing it, holding it on tightly for themselves. And they can't see the trickle-down effect of what sharing brings to us all. It's not even just a linear mathematical effect, but it's an energetic effect as well. When you share, it comes back to you. When you give, it comes back to you. When you include, it comes back to you. When it's coming from a generosity of being, you win and you grow and you help other people expand in the size of their pie, and you see that it's not a pie at all. It's just something that keeps growing and expanding. So part of this giving your child some insight into what life is all about is to project this possibility of abundance and growth of everything. That kindness matters, inclusiveness matters, and so on. And to even on a casual basis point out the effect of those winning moments. So not everything has to be a lecture. It could be just something that someone kicked the ball at the end of the soccer game to somebody on the team that oftentimes doesn't do anything with the ball when they get it. And in that moment, the kid got the ball, ran down and scored a goal. So when everybody comes off the field, it's just a great time to say, look at that. They gave him a chance and they shared and it worked out great. You just take those winning moments and you expand them so that people can see that there's a benefit in being that person. Along those lines, another part of this is that I find people are getting more and more serious too. And being serious about certain things is a way to build the quality of life that you want, if you think of serious as being dedicated and purposeful and to take steps toward a goal. But seriousness does not mean that you have to be unhappy or unplayful or unfunny or macabre. Serious means that you can be dedicated, but can't you be dedicated playfully? Because then you're showing that even that aspect of us all being together, sharing a sense of humor, sharing a sense of playfulness with one another, literally makes your life better and it makes everybody's life better. It's not about needing to be the class clown. It's not about needing to have attention. It's about just being lighthearted, not being life and death about everything, not having every circumstance be high drama, but just be playful, play through things. One of the simplest captures of that thought is whistle while you work. We're going to be doing what we're doing anyway, and we have a choice. We can either do it and have fun, or we can do it and not have fun at all, and then we can complain and we can gripe. Now, not only are other people not going to want to be around you as much, but you're going to find yourself being irritated with yourself at some point as well. You know, find the fun in it. Find the fun in it. Find fun in the things that it is that you're doing. When we ignite all of these qualities once again, then we start to see that everyone who starts to have these feelings, or everyone who stays connected to these feelings of abundance and sharing and kindness and playfulness and humor, that it's ripples that are contagious. You know how laughter is contagious. The ripples of all of these qualities are contagious and they grow. You can almost walk into a different community or city. You can walk into a space or a school or a hotel or a venue, and this energy hits you and you get a sense of whether everybody is relatively happy or relatively fear-based or relatively off-putting or relatively inviting. If you can feel that when you're going to different places or you've gone to different places in your life, can you imagine how much your children can feel that? So be the place where you have that open, welcoming feeling so they can feel aligned with the happiness of life and the joy of life. Not this whole thing that everything has to be so hard and so serious and so fear-based and so drama-filled. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what spiritual wisdom is all about. We're not here to have a hard life. We're here to have a happy life. And your view of spiritual wisdom will set the tone for how your kids develop in that arena. So helping your kids mature spiritually has everything to do with how you manage these conversations and this modeling throughout your child's entire childhood, whether they're playing sports or they're doing homework or they're bringing home a test grade or they're staying over a friend's house or they're choosing their clothes or they're putting on their sneakers or they're learning how to brush their teeth. Your approach is going to make all the difference in their approach to all of life. The spiritual wisdom that you adopt and that you include in these moments are going to pay off as your children model and mimic that happier vibration that you can model at home. And they will represent that for themselves, and they will also represent that for others. You are the spiritual model for your child's development. I know that most parents experience times of stress or confusion or their own fear. Your management of those times help to have your child develop a relationship with their own spiritual maturation. You know, once or twice having an off day or an off moment or an off quarter or an off month is something that you can sit down and explain to your kids why you maybe behaved more dramatically or with trigger sensitivity. But what you model to them throughout the day-to-day, in and out, year after year after year, is going to be far more significant in how your child aligns with universal truth and the wisdom that they have within. So help them to see that this kind of calmness in what is oftentimes an uncalm world is a worthy pursuit. So in addition to modeling it, show them other ways that they can find this sense of well-being within them, even if the world around them is not calm. So in the context of whatever it is they're doing, you can grab a moment and say, let's just be quiet for a minute and empty our heads. Or let's just try to listen to the birds for a few minutes and see what they sound like. And if you do this throughout their childhood, what you're doing is giving them a sense of listening to something other than the chaotic world outside of them, and they will be able to draw upon that as they become adults. So they can see that quiet or being in nature or having a peaceful moment, that it soothes them and it keeps them balanced, and it also keeps them connected to their own well-being. In the video that we had earlier about helping your child to develop in the physical, like in their relationship with their bodies, we talked about some of these elements, about how you take care of your body and what you fuel your body. This is specific about having quiet time, having freedom to daydream, having ability to not think so much or not be bombarded with influences that come from screen time or people or anything else that makes our world so information packed and so bombarding us with details all the time. Help your child to enjoy that sense of quiet and peace. For me personally, the way that I've always been able to enjoy introducing that for my kids and helping them stay connected to it was to make sure that nature was a part of our lives. Whether we were hiking or we were visiting somewhere new and checking out an ice cave, or listening to birds call, or going to a canyon that we'd never been to. But when you show that to your kids throughout their lives, even if they go through a period of growth when they are maybe a little bit busier or a little frenzied, that seed is planted within them to go back to that sense of well-being that they had in those environments. This is probably more critical now than ever in history, because there's never been a period in history when there were so many different things vying for our attention, between television and sports and social media and social media and social media. So being able to turn that off and find joy in turning all that off is part of how you model spiritual wisdom to your own children, and help them to develop the backdrop on which they can have access to their own inner wisdom. And of course, even beyond this, there's always looking at or experiencing with them the ideas of meditation or yoga or other aspects or other really proven ways that people can quiet their mind. But for the most part, simply show the possibility. And if your child becomes increasingly curious, make new opportunities available to them to pursue the areas of quiet or peace or nature that they enjoy. So once again, it's a knowingness that your children have the right to feel like they matter. They have the right to believe that they are powerful. They have the right to believe that they matter as much as everything on the planet, and everything on the planet matters as much as them. This self-love will reward them with happiness, and it will also allow them to have an overflow of abundant, positive interactions with the rest of the planet and all people as well. So helping them develop this sense of spiritual self will help them to reflect out a positive, harmonious interaction with all other things in their journey. So first, spend time to make sure that your belief system is aligned with this possibility, and you too will find yourself taking the overflow of that abundance and sharing it with your children so they can be happy too. Thank you again for joining me. I appreciate your comments and your likes and your shares, and I look forward to seeing you again. Have a happy parenting day.